Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director. I really recommend that you use them too. So take the next 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Huddle for their support. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and you should too. Your coaches are just going to love all the tools that Huddle provides. Your kids are going to love the videos, and your parents are going to love the streaming and all the other platforms. Join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers you more. Also want to say thanks to Snap Raise. If you've used fundraisers in the past and been disappointed with the results, you need to stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with great success. Our coaches loved it because it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. We want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Probably the best purchase I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Tremendously versatile. We use it for games, of course, for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Check out all the great things that their products can do for you. Sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Your kids are on social media, and so are their parents. And if you're not posting content to celebrate their accomplishments and advertise your program, you're really missing out. Go to Gipper.com. Their team will have you creating world-class content in seconds. It's used and trusted by over 4,000 high school and college programs across the country. It's professional graphic design made simple. Gipper.com. We want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to share your school's unique history and brag about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, results, rosters, communication. How about student athlete eligibility and clearance? Who doesn't do that every day? Home Campus does all of this and more, does it better and does it faster. To get started, all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We'd like to thank the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. This is an affordable 20-month, totally online master's program that also allows you to complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses. To find out more information or to get signed up, go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters. And we'd like to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic directors already get feedback, but typically it's from a very small group that only wants to complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that small group of complainers, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And that information is incredibly valuable, especially when you're meeting with a frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Let them create a custom survey that's going to let you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. There we go. I think I hit that twice. Hey, welcome back to the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to one of our favorite states today, the great state of Ohio. We're going to be visiting with Steve Rossi. Steve is a certified athletic administrator, and he's the director of athletics at Roger Bacon High School in Cincinnati, Ohio. tremendous background in athletics, and we're excited to have him on the show. Steve Rossi, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you, Jake. Happy to be here. Appreciate it.
Well, it's summertime, and for athletic directors, hopefully you're getting a little bit of undisturbed planning in, but we're disturbing Steve today, and he was gracious enough to share his time. Steve, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us up through your own college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Steve Rossi story?
All right. Yeah, sounds good. Well, I was born in Middletown, Ohio. I went to Bishop Fenwick High School, Catholic school for 12 years, and actually another 4.5 at University of Dayton. So always had a Catholic school background. Very large family, 10 kids. My father, which is really almost the foundation for why I do what I do. He was a teacher coach. He was an administrator. He was an athletic director for 27 years, 31 years as a basketball coach. So one of those things where I literally grew up at a school, in a gym, just sort of following him around a little bit, and always just kind of wanting to do what he did. Went to University of Dayton through sports management, and I actually got my master's degree at Xavier University, one of their earliest classes in sports administration there. So the bedrock had kind of been set a long time ago when I was a young kid that athletics and sports was something that I wanted to do. So I always thought, I was like, man, if my dad was a lawyer, would I have wanted to do that? Or if my dad was in sales, would I have wanted to do that? But I really can't think of anything just kind of better for me as a young kid that loved playing sports than to have a dad that was a coach and a teacher that had access to the gym and everything all of the time. So I feel really, really fortunate to be able to have grown up in that setting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of my best friends, his dad was the AD of our school. And so, we were always in there on the weekends, and we felt like we, were kings of the castle. Um, Describe that, say junior high school experience. Was it a big, big school? Was it a smaller school? What was that setting like for you as a high school student?
Okay. Well, when I was in high school, Fenwick was a smaller school, about 260 kids. It was in the city of Middletown in about 2003 or four, probably getting the year wrong. They moved probably 7 or 8 miles away onto a very, very large campus. And the school right now is probably about 500 kids. But it was definitely one of those schools where everybody knew everybody from freshman through senior. And, I had two sisters that were 1 and 2 years older than me. They were there as well. With 10 kids, there was somebody in school in every grade almost every year. So, but it was such a good experience. Played a lot of sports. A lot of my classmates and friends. We all had to play a lot of sports. You kind of have to when you're be able to field a team. You have to be able to do that. Everybody's got to play at least one or two. So, but even before I got there, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, just going to all of the games. Everything kind of revolved around what did Fenwick do this weekend? The football team win? How's the volleyball team? And then, of course, with Dad coaching basketball for so long, that was really, some of your weekends absolutely revolved around going to the games and traveling a little bit and just having some fun and just being around all.
Oh, wow. It sounds great. I just love to hear the stories. I ask this question frequently, and I'm just, again, very curious, or I guess you could say very nosy. Can you think of a moment back in high school? Maybe it was during practice or a game or riding on a bus, or maybe in one of those open gyms that at the time it really didn't seem like much. But now looking back with experience and perspective, you can point to that moment and say, hey, that was a big moment for me. Anything stick out for you?
There's probably a few of those, I think. Um, they sometimes they'll blend together a little bit, but I do remember my junior year playing basketball. Um, we had a pretty good team. One of my best friends, he ended up being the player of the year of the league. He became our third all-time leading scorer. He's actually the head coach of Springboro High School girls basketball. Mike Holager. They made it to a state finals, but I just remember my riding home after a practice, with my dad, and you know, and I'm asking him, you know, what's what's Mike got to do for us to keep winning these games and everything, or these tournament games or whatever, and kind of the answer was always kind of just keep feeding him the ball and just kind of keep playing through what we're trying to do, and and he just kind of said, you'll know what to do. You'll know what to do. That kind of gave me some confidence that he thought I was a pretty good player, and could be smart with the basketball every now and then. But uh, like a lot of coaches' sons, you're always just sort of thinking about those types of things. But you let them down every now and then with some just silly turnovers or whatever. But I just remember that car ride home. He just gave me a lot of confidence that you can play the game, you can have a career in sports, and that he was happy that I was along for the ride.
Oh, wow. What a great memory. Thanks for sharing that. We're going to take our first break, but our guest today is Steve Rossi. He's a certified athletic administrator, and he's the director of athletics at Roger Bacon High School. That's in Cincinnati, Ohio. Let's take that break, but we're coming back with more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Huddle for their support of the podcast. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our kids loved the videos, our parents loved the streaming, and there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com. Their team's going to show you how to set up and sell tickets online, not just for athletic events, but for events like school plays and concerts, school dances, even graduation. And here's the best part. Every school gets assigned a dedicated client success manager that's going to provide you hands-on support every step of the way. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. It's digital ticketing that offers more. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Steve, you took us up through your college days. Great stories also about, playing for your dad. What was that early career journey like, after you graduated? We're going to hear about Roger Bacon later, but what are some of the stops along the way that brought you to your present position?
Okay, absolutely. Well, one of my first jobs, sort of in the, I guess, in the business of maybe athletics, um, in sports, I worked for a company. It was called Sport and Social Clubs of the U.S., and I was down in Cincinnati, and made me think of it like an intramural department for young adults. So if you wanted to play in a softball league or a basketball league or a sand volleyball league, we ran and organized those leagues for people all around Cincinnati. And so that was kind of my first taste of sort of organizing sports and helping market sports and being around that. It was a great situation. Absolutely, absolutely loved it. Started to get to the point to where I was thinking, I may need some health benefits, some insurance, those types of things. So I needed to maybe kind of pivot to something that was going to afford me that, because back then, we're looking at, 20, almost 30 years ago, the high school athletic director position was a little bit different. There was maybe probably still just an athletic director, not necessarily an assistant athletic director or an admin. So there weren't a whole lot of opportunities to jump into school like maybe they are now with some of the other roles. So I actually pivoted over and worked for a company, Fidelity Investments, for about 6 years. And, just kind of figuring out that journey, see if that's where I was going to continue. But I always got the itch to coach a little bit. And maybe about 4 years into that, I took an assistant coaching job over at Deer Park High School, and just loved it, and tried to figure out how am I going to pivot back into sports and athletics, hopefully at the high school level. And just through one of the contacts I had made earlier, I had met a man named Dave Durker. He was the athletic director for Cincinnati Public Schools. Him and I stayed in some contact, and one thing led to another. He had called me one day and wanted to know if I wanted to interview for a position within Cincinnati Public Schools. I did. I jumped at the chance, and I was able to start my career as an athletic director at Aiken High School here in Cincinnati. But as I mentioned, Dave Durker, he passed away just recently, and just wanted to kind of give him a little bit of props. He was such a pillar in Cincinnati and in Ohio in regards to being an athletic administrator. And I always credit him as the one that gave me my first opportunity. He was my first boss in athletics. So that's kind of how that career started.
One thing that I still share with young ADs, even veteran ADs, is the importance of networking. And was that something, building your network, was that something that kind of came natural to you, or was it something that developed over the time?
It definitely developed over time. I had the privilege of I think I mentioned before, following my dad around to a lot of games and a lot of meetings. He served on the Southwest Ohio District Athletic Board. That's the group that helps organize and run all of our sectional and district tournaments. So I got a chance to sort of go around to some of these places with him and go to basketball games and tournament games, and just kind of get a feel for meeting people and being introduced to people. So I felt very lucky when I was a young boy and then a teenager. I kind of had a nice group of athletic directors or principals that I had met before, so that when I started, you have the individuals that are in your league, that are in your conference, that you're always talking to, that you're going to meetings with and collaborating with. But I also had an opportunity to kind of talk to some other folks about some things, just in case you don't want to ask one of your colleagues a silly question. You're able to kind of ask some other folks some opinions on some things. So, and it definitely grew over time. And going to your local, state, national meetings and conventions, those types of things, it's very important to do that. You always want to have some people in your life that you can share some best practices with, ask questions, and kind of sometimes even get a feel for, are you doing things the right way? So
let's go and jump into that. One of our segments is, we ask you to share your journey with your state association and with NIAAA. So how'd you get involved with, the Ohio Association? I know, tremendous conference every year in the fall. And then, you are a CAA. That doesn't happen by accident. How did all of that develop for you?
Okay, yeah, great question. Yeah, when I was in Cincinnati Public, Dave, he always stressed to go to the meetings, go to the local meetings. We want to have a presence at those meetings from our schools that are in our league and in our conference. I think it shows that you're interested in what is being talked about, what's coming down the pipeline, what are some of the important issues around not just your city or your conferences, but at the state level as well. And then with that came, going to the state conferences, going to the classes, getting some information to take home, and doing that professional development so that you're learning as much about your profession as you possibly can. And along with that came, you know, there's the opportunity to take the CAA exam. So you need to take a lot of the classes. You have to do those. Used to take a lot of them in person, which I always enjoyed because then you're in there with another dozen or 20 other athletic directors, and you have time to meet and greet and talk and build your network again. So that was a big part of that process. And Dave was always an advocate to do those types of things, and I am too. I do like the professional development piece of it because, like anything else, everything is always evolving, and you have to sort of stay on the forefront of things. You want to show your staff and your community that you're doing these things for the betterment of not just yourself, but for the school and the department as a whole. So,
Oh no, absolutely. We're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but talking about building the network. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out, not just add you to their network, but also pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way that they can get in touch with Steve Rossi?
okay, yeah, absolutely. One, I can certainly share my phone number at the end. I don't know how that works, but you can maybe direct message me on Twitter. It's at ADRossi4. So you can do that. And I'd be happy to share my email as well at the end there. You can find me on Facebook too. You can direct message me on Facebook. I'm not quite on all the other social media platforms yet, but those are a couple of the ways that you can get in touch with me, and be more than happy to talk with folks about just about anything. Those are some of the fun conversations to have, with whether you're aspiring, you're a student, or you're a 30-year vet. It's always, you can always get a tidbit of information from folks that you talk with to kind of take back to your own book bag of skill sets and everything. So.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely get that information at the end of the podcast. And for NIAAA members, Steve's information is also in the NIAAA membership portal. So let's go and take another break, but we're coming back with a lot more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Raise. If you've ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and ended up disappointed, you need to stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with tremendous success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it because it worked. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. snapraise.com. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Check out their great products today. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Your students are on social media. A lot of their parents are too. And if you're not creating content to celebrate their accomplishments and promote your program, you're really missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. Their team is going to have you creating world-class content. Gipper's used and trusted by over 4,000 high school and college programs across the country. It's professional graphic design made simple. Go to Gipper.com to get started. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. We're visiting today with Steve Rossi, the Director of Athletics for Roger Bacon High School in Cincinnati. Steve, one of the things we try to do with the podcast is this idea of sharing best practices. So I'm going to put you on the spot. What are some things that you and your team do at Roger Bacon that you're particularly proud of, things that you would consider best practices?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think one of the things that um, Roger Bacon does really well, not just the athletic department, but as a school, is our social media presence. We've got a great group of people who are in charge of our accounts, and some really, really good content that gets put out, in a lot of it too. I think one of the things we're proud of is that we set up an account for every sport. So it isn't just the athletic department and two or three sports that have a social media account, but all of them do. And we give coaches the power to do those to do that activity and to make sure that their sport is being seen and heard from as well. And then, from there, there's just a lot of synergy with it. We'll repost it. We will make comments on it. Everybody from our principal to our president will make comments on all of our activity that we do. One of the things that not necessarily unique to us, but we also make sure that for almost every game, every level, there is a mention on the announcements, like every school does. We want to make sure that kid has an opportunity to hear his or her name in the morning. What did they do? That it's not always just again the major sports or whatever, but we want to make sure that they're being recognized and that we appreciate everything that they do, and parents do as well. We will post it on Facebook also. A lot of parents and grandparents are on Facebook and not necessarily on Twitter or X or Instagram. So we want to make sure that we do those types of things. Then the other neat thing, it's becoming a little bit more popular around. You'll see more schools have it. But we've got a nice big video wall in our gymnasium that we do our game introductions, in a nice, fun way. Really unique to at least our league for right now. I think another school or two has it. It's kind of becoming the trend, but when you turn the lights off, when we're getting ready to be introduced, and those kids get to come out with, lights flashing all over the place and a really fun, loud environment. That's one of the things that I'm really proud that we do, that we get to do. It's just a really, really fun, cool environment, and our current students and our parents know it. They've been to a bunch, but when you get comments from the visitors on how neat that was, that puts a smile on your face, and you're doing something that's pretty cool for kids.
You know, you'll hear athletic directors, and I think for a while in my career, I was one of those athletic directors. It was, you know, we didn't have this when we were in high school 100 years ago, and we survived and all this stuff. But um, that cranky old guy on the front porch. But you mentioned it's so much fun. You see smiles on their faces. And isn't that what we're supposed to be doing along with, building character and making kids tougher? But hey, it's okay to have fun. And
Yeah.
those types of things. The technology is available. They certainly didn't have it, like I said, 100 years ago when I was in high school, but it is fun. You know, looking at your, or not looking at, I guess, well, maybe looking at your own program, your own student athletes, your own coaches, um, have uh, any great ideas, any best practices come from those sources? A kid, hey, Coach Rossi, can we try this? Or a coach, have you ever had some good suggestions from, let's say, your stakeholders?
Oh, absolutely. You put that power to them. If you talk to your colleagues and your friends that are also coaches and they're doing some things and you want to do that, absolutely try it. If you need to run it by me, run it by me. But absolutely do that. The best ideas are always stolen, right? They're always taken from somewhere else. And when you go to an away game, one of the things I like to do is just sort of how are they doing this? What happens here? What do they oh, that's pretty neat. Oh, we're going to do that there. But I think one of the things that um, that has evolved, say, in 10 years, is say, the team meals, those types of things. Historically, it always seemed like, on Thursday, football has a big team meal, and everybody brings in food, or it's catered or whatever. But it has morphed to almost every sport now is trying to have that camaraderie and that fun with kind of a pregame meal. And some of our some of our parents who get together and help organize the schedule of who's going to do it and bring it and cater it and everything, I think is amazing. And I love the fact that our parents get so involved with all of our programs. Um, whether it's, again, just buying Chick-fil-A or bringing food in, or organizing, times to bring in snacks so that you can have them in a room, so that the golf team, the tennis team, the cross country team, they always have something that they can go grab and take. And because their games and matches are almost always right after school. Sometimes they're leaving early. They don't have that 7 o'clock game or match that they can sort of sit down and have a nice meal or something brought into. But I think that's another thing that our school does really well, and that's obviously with the support of our coaches and our parents, is sort of helping organize those types of things so that everybody can feel like they have that as part of their program also. The big get together group team meal isn't just a Thursday night thing for one sport, but everybody can take part of that. And again, that's got to be done through the collective efforts of parents and grandparents and all of our coaches also.
No, and you bring up, I think a crucial point is that, everybody's got to be kind of on the same page. The coach, I think some coaches don't want it, but they acknowledge, okay, this can be a good thing. But then you have some parents, I'm sure you've never seen this at Roger Bacon, take it to an extreme and just way over the top. And so it's finding that balance where, okay, we're providing the kids, let's say, I mean, the classic example, middle school soccer team getting oranges at halftime. Okay, hey, we're providing them with something good, but we don't have paper plates and napkins and place settings and other things that parents are setting up like it's a second grade classroom party. The communication key. I'm so glad you touched on that, and again, trying to provide that for all the teams. So the golf team, the tennis team, those teams that might not have that big, catered Friday pregame meal like football or somebody else gets,
Yeah.
get to experience that. Very good stuff. Boy, I kind of went off there for a minute. Um, let's go and take a break, but we are going to come back with more. Our guest today is Steve Rossi. He's the athletic director at Roger Bacon High School in Cincinnati. Let's take that break, but we got a lot more coming. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or to showcase your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Take a look at their interactive touch screen video consoles. They're also a great way to tell your school's unique history and brag about your proudest moments. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Take a look at those touchscreen video boards. You're going to be very impressed. vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank Home Campus for their support. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, uploading scores and rosters, communicating with your stakeholders, communicating with your entire state. How about student athlete eligibility and clearance? Who doesn't do that every day? Well, Home Campus does all of these things and more, and it does it better and it does it faster. To get started, just go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We also want to thank the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. This is an affordable 20-month, totally online program where you not only earn your master's degree, you also complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses to go towards your RAA or your CAA. To find out more, just go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Steve, you shared a really cool anecdote with me during the break about Roger Bacon High School. Can you share that with our listeners?
Well, sure. Yeah, we were kind of talking about, what we're proud of here at Roger Bacon and what we do well. But one of the things that we really are very proud of is we were the only high school basketball team to beat LeBron James in Ohio. 2002 Ohio State basketball championship. He was undefeated against I think everybody else. But yeah, we were the only school to be able to do that, and that we're very proud of that 2002 boys basketball state championship. Actually, our principal Tim McCoy was on that team. So if you come into our lobby, we have a nice mural of a lot of different Roger Bacon Spartan moments. But in the state championship one, there's a great team picture of that, and it's just kind of a really, really proud moment. But we do have a lot of other state championships that we're proud of. But as long as LeBron keeps playing, and now that I guess his son has been drafted, we're going to be able to kind of talk about that for a long time, I guess.
Oh, no, without question. And that's so cool that, your principal is on that team. I'm sure, he manages to work that into the conversation once or twice. No, that is very cool. Thanks so much for sharing.
Yeah.
We're also talking during the break, and we're recording this in early July, actually July 1st. So by the time you're listening to it, it's a little bit later, but in regards to hiring, okay, this is sort of kind of a hiring season, if you will, for teachers and coaches. As a administrator, when you're looking at a potential teacher or coach, maybe even a head coach, what are some things that you're looking for uh, we always talk about fit, to make sure that this coach is going to be the right fit for Roger Bacon?
All right. Well, that's a great question, and I think one of the things that we want to look at, or I want to look at, I want to know how they can communicate with parents and with kids. Are you doing it consistently? Are you doing it with a lot of information? Are you being responsive to questions and emails and those types of things? I think that's very important. Parents want information. The other thing is, in regards to technology, can you set up the we use final forms for a lot of our communication. Can you be consistent on that? Can you do that? So that's one question that we'll ask. Another one, might depend on the sport that we're interviewing for, but we want to know how they maybe evaluate talent. How do you judge maybe the toughness of something? It doesn't have to be somebody that's running, to break up a fight or anything like that. But you see kids able to grind through day by day by day and never complain, and that are good teammates. How do you promote good sportsmanship is another one. For me, that how we portray ourselves, how we are perceived, how we act in regards to showing good sportsmanship and displaying good sportsmanship it's very important to me. I want to see us picking kids up off of the ground if we've knocked them down. I like to see our own teammates come to a player that might have fell down and kind of lift them up and pick them up. But I want to show that we're shaking hands and that we're representing Roger Bacon, the right way. So I'll ask coaches, how does that play into what you want to do? How is that important to you? And then, the old, describe a successful season to you. Doesn't have to be an undefeated season. You could be 500 or below, but still have a very successful season, because everybody everybody seemed to have a good time. The feedback was great. Very few issues. You got kids recognized on all league or all district or things like that. So a lot of different ways to do that. So I'm always interested to see what their response is on that.
You know, you mentioned this earlier. One thing that athletic directors like to do, but don't often or don't always get a chance to do is professional development for their coaches. So, what are some things that you do intentionally to help provide your coaches with professional development opportunities?
Okay, well, that's a great question. Also, there's always the classes and everything that's on the um, the NIAAA or the NFHS.org website. A lot of them they're free, and encourage coaches to try to do that as much as possible. In regards to renewing coaching certifications, when there's a new certification that we have to do, kind of make sure that they have that process and have the ability to do that. I think maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I gave an incentive to a group of coaches that said, whoever does the most of these new classes online here through the NFHS website, we'll put some money into your fundraising account, and you can have a team meal or something like that. But it's always trying to help provide that. The communication about coaching today's student athletes, it's a lot different than it even was 5 years ago, let alone especially 10 years ago. We've got to take different approaches a lot of times to how we talk and discuss and communicate and coach, today's kids. It is different. And I think COVID might have played a little bit of a role in that, but, a long time ago, it was unheard of to take a bunch of water breaks during practices. Now, coaches, that's the first thing they know about is the hydration and nutrition. They're learning all these great things about how to better prepare our student athletes, along with our trainers. That the more is better in a situation like that. So.
No, great point. And it's always changing. You could just never say, okay, I know it all now. I know, I think John Wooden said, when you realize that you don't know it all, that's when you finally become a leader. Great stuff. Thanks so much for sharing today. This has been really cool hearing more about your school and getting to know you, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you certainly know your way around the world of athletics, but we're going to take a final break here from Athletic Surveys. And when we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in the toolbox. So let's take that final break. And when we return, we're going to see what Steve Rossi puts into his new athletic director toolbox. We'd like to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. Athletic directors already get feedback, but typically it's from a very small group that just wants to complain about everything. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And that information is incredibly valuable, especially when you're meeting with that frustrated parent or student athlete, or maybe your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Steve Rossi. Steve's a certified athletic administrator. He's the director of athletics at Roger Bacon High School in Cincinnati, Ohio. Tremendous background in athletics, but right now I'm going to challenge him to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let him put 3 items in the toolbox. So, Steve, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
All right. Well, great question. I know when I was sent out on my first one, I was prepared by our boss. So he always gave me some great advice. But I think one of the first things is definitely in that toolbox has got to be some really sharp communication skills and know-how. Email, your phone, those types of things. Know how to communicate with people on the go is something that I would strongly encourage. The other one is really more tangible. Also, you're going to be a site manager for the first time somewhere. Get a checklist. Bring a checklist. Every single thing that you think needs to be done. Maybe the previous administration had one for you, but just make sure you have that checklist of every single thing that you might need on a given day, whether it's at the stadium or in the gym, so that you've got something to reference physically to do that. And another one, have that patience and understanding for everything going on. You've got a job to do as an athletic director. You've got a broad view of everything, a wide scope view of everything. And you get down to the other sports, it starts to they all start to focus up a little bit. The volleyball coaches and the soccer coaches, their view is sort of their sports. Even though they may or may not understand everything that you're looking at or trying to do, have that patience and understanding with all of your coaches and players and parents, because to a parent, what their son or daughter is doing is one of the most important things going on. Even if it isn't, to you, because you've got everything else to deal with, have that patience and understanding and the ability to talk to those groups with a smile on your face. I think that's really is going to carry a new athletic director positively as they kind of journey through that first season. And then the other thing I would also say, get involved. Know what's going on, know the job, know some of the ins and outs. Talk to everybody you can about how you are doing your going throughout your seasons. Administrators, teachers, people that are working the gate for you, those types of things. Just get to know the lay of the land, so that you can set yourself up for success.
Oh yeah, you see me writing all these down. I love them all. The one you just mentioned, being involved. I think it's something that all athletic directors can do a better job of. I think you're at the games, you're at the events, but get involved, get to know those people. Great stuff. Steve, if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit more, find out how you do things at Roger Bacon, or as we said, just add you to the network, what's the best way that they can get a hold of Steve Rossi?
Okay. Well, I'd be happy to share my phone number with them, 513-608-8980. You can email me at srossi@rogerbacon.org. And even direct message me on Twitter or X at ADRossi4. Or you can find me on Facebook as well. I think my profile is University of Dayton symbol on it. So yeah, a bunch of different ways to do that. Yeah, I'd be happy to kind of talk and chat with anybody just kind of about what we do and share some stories and commiserate a little bit with folks. So please feel free to reach out.
Well, Steve, thanks again for spending time with us today. All the best as the school year is just about getting ready to kick off now, as people are listening to this. And please let us know if there's anything we can do for you down the road.
Thanks, Jake, and I appreciate the time today, and thank you for everything that you do for the athletic directors not just around Ohio, but around the country. You do a great job, so hopefully everybody's tuning into you.
Oh, well, thank you. You're very kind. For listeners, we want to say thanks to you and just remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day, sharing stories and best practices. So hopefully you'll come back for the next edition of the Educational AD Podcast. Thanks again.